Hey everyone, I'm Neely. I'm just gonna wait for people. It's 10:58 my time, so we have a couple minutes. Just gonna make sure everything's working properly. Oh, you can turn your video off too.
Hello.
Hey, you can turn your audio off.
Yes, I think I did. Hello.
Hello. All right. Does anybody know how to tell? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Okay, so I have my chat open. Just gonna give people one more minute. Hello, Germany. Hi, Maurice. Hello, Sarah. Yeah, if you guys can hear me, if you can just say hello, that would be helpful.
Hi, Neely.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. I meant to write it in the chat. I'm not used to doing such big groups. Sorry. You guys can turn your video off too. Unless you want to be displayed on video.
There we go. Okay. Good.
Cool. And then if anybody has their audio on, just turn the audio off.
I don't think I have it on.
You do. Okay, cool. I thought that I had turned everybody's off, but it's Zoom. Who knows? Okay, we can get started. Thanks everybody for joining me. There are 100 people in here. I've definitely never talked to 100 people at the same time on a Zoom call, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna try to not take up too much of your time because it's the middle of the workday and I know that you guys all have things to do. So I'll just give you some logistics for the rest of the week and then we'll get started and then I'll take questions. So each day this week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to be doing about a 10 or 15-minute presentation. It's not really a presentation, it's just a talk. I'm just going to be talking to you guys about a certain topic. We'll go over protein today. We'll go over carbohydrates, sugar in particular on another day, and then meal timing, and then some other random topics. But those are kind of the things that we're going to be covering this week. And so each day I'll talk for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll take questions for 10-ish minutes. And so the whole thing will be around 20 to 25 minutes, just depending on how many questions you guys have. And then on the last day on Friday, I'll take more questions. I'll leave more time for questions. And then there's always, I'm going to be in the Facebook group. I know that some people don't have Facebook, and I'm sorry about that, but I'll also be answering questions in the Facebook group. So if you have anything else, you can just shoot it over there. I'm gonna bring up my notes here. So I'm just gonna get right into this talk. And if you have questions, just write them in the chat box and then I'll get to them at the end. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me for this. This is super exciting for me. I've never done a free challenge like this where it lasted for 5 days. But I decided to do it on energy levels because that's the biggest complaint that my nutrition clients have. And so hopefully this week will shed some light on that and you can probably even start to feel some differences in your energy levels if you do what I suggest this week. And that's kind of the challenge part of it, is to make these changes in your life so that you feel better. So the first and most important one is probably protein. And it's whenever I have clients I have them log their diet for me for a few days before we start talking. And most of them are too low in protein. It's rare that people come to me eating what I think is enough protein for a climber. And so some of the symptoms that you'll see from low protein is the afternoon energy slump, like after lunch, feeling tired, having low energy for workouts, not being able to recover very well the next day, especially if you haven't eaten enough protein on a big day of climbing outside. And then the next day, you're going to have a harder time recovering from that. A lot of times people have sugar cravings if they're eating too little protein. They'll be obsessed with food. They'll always feel hungry. They'll be snacking a lot at night, and a lot of times their sleep will be poor. And the reasons for this are that protein has everything to do with blood sugar management. So a lot of times people are coming in and their carbs are too high and their protein is too low. And what that means is that whenever you eat a meal like that, where it's unbalanced like that, your blood sugar is going to go high, and then the higher it goes, the lower it's going to plummet. And so you eat, your blood sugar goes high, and then it plummets down, and then you get sugar cravings and you get hungry, and so you eat more, mostly carbs, and it goes way up and then it goes down. And so you're constantly on these highs and lows, right? And then by the end of the night, your body's like, I need more nutrients. And so it's just making you eat. And the first thing that we always go to are carbs. So when you eat enough protein, it helps to slow the release of glucose into your body. And so that's going to keep your energy levels up for longer. Protein is also the most satiating macronutrient, and it keeps you feeling fuller for longer. So with the right amount of carbs, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, the right amount of carbs and the right kinds of carbs, your energy can stay stable through the day. So what are my recommendations? I recommend sort of as a baseline around 25% protein. Sometimes it's just really, really hard for people to get there, but at least, or I try to get people at 25% protein. But what does that mean? So that's 25% protein of total calories. And I wanted to give you sort of an example of what that looks like. And I picked an 1,800 calorie diet because it's sort of in the middle of where I see people. Sometimes women who are smaller are on more like 1,400 or 1,500 calories, and some larger people are in the 2,000s, and not very often, but sometimes in the 3,000s. But anyway, I picked an 1,800 calorie diet, and on 1,800 calories, your protein at 25% would be 112 grams. And if you did, I recommended that if you wanted to, you log for just like a day on MyFitnessPal or some app and come with that prepared. So hopefully some of you have done that so you can see where you fall. So that would be 112 grams of protein per day. And what does that mean though? So, because people have no idea how much protein is in things because we're not taught this stuff. Like you'd have to go out of your way to look it up. So 4 ounces of lean chicken or turkey or pork or beef is around 32 grams of protein. So that's, if you were to need 112 grams of protein over 3 meals and say 1 snack a day, that would mean that you would need around 32 grams per meal and 16 grams per snack. And that's because I really like to have people eat very consistently sized meals with very consistent numbers of macronutrients in them so that we're always ready to go and we're always able to recover properly from exercise. So if you needed 32 grams per meal, that 4 ounces of lean chicken or any lean meat would get you there. If you don't eat meat, but you eat fish, 5 ounces of salmon is 30 grams of protein. And a lot of fish are very similar. They're very lean protein. If you don't eat fish and you eat eggs and dairy, this is where I start having people combine things. So 3 eggs is going to be 18 grams. Each egg is going to be about 6. A cup of really high protein Greek yogurt can be anywhere from 17 to 20 grams. And remember, we're looking for those 32 grams for this particular person per meal. If you don't eat dairy products, you can, a cup of tempeh would be 33 grams, so it's actually pretty high. And then a cup of black beans is 15 grams. So again, you can combine things. There's cheese, helps to contribute to protein levels. Nuts and seeds give a little bit, grains give a little bit here and there. So all of it combined, you can easily get up to what you need in a meal. You just have to be a little bit more thoughtful about things. So the assignment for today is you don't necessarily need to log your diet, but if you did, it would be, even if it's just for a couple days, you could see how much protein am I currently getting? What's the percentage that I'm getting? And you can see that in MyFitnessPal, for instance, on the phone app. Try to get 100 grams of protein a day. Or if you're on a very low calorie diet, try to get 90 grams of protein. But 100 grams is sort of like my starting point for climbers to try to get them to have more energy and to be able to recover better from exercise. And if you want to get more specific with it and like really get after it, go into MyFitnessPal or whatever you're using, change your goals in there so that you make your protein goal 25% and see if you can reach it every day for the amount of calories that you eat. So that's kind of my thoughts for right now. And it's pretty quick and simple. And these are the same kinds of things that I tell my clients. And so if you guys have questions now, or if you want to know things about your specific diet, just let me know. So you can go ahead into the chats. Yes, so the first question is, do you distinguish between the effectiveness of different protein sources? So animal protein is better assimilated by your body. And so yes, I do. I think that if you can tolerate, let me back up. If you do eat meat, it's way easier to just get your protein from meat and more efficient, right? But if you can't, or if you choose not to, it's fine. Like, you're still going to get plenty of protein if you get the numbers that we're talking about. It's just not going to be used quite as efficiently by your body. Next question, MyFitnessPal is dead easy and has really helped me track protein following a tip from me. Thanks. That's great. And then my question is about whether protein intake recommendations are expected to vary based on climbing exercise amount throughout the week. Should we shoot for the same amount of grams per day every day, or prioritize getting more on particular days based on activity level? What if we have weeks where we are climbing or exercising only 1 or 2 days versus 3 or 4 days per week? So I don't like to make it too complicated. And you're gonna find that that's kind of a theme of mine. I just want it to be doable so that you don't have to think as very much. So what I suggest is having a baseline, right? So on every day, whether I'm exercising or climbing or not, I'm having these meals and I'm having this snack, right? Or something like that. And then when I exercise, what you actually are needing more of, especially for climbing, are carbohydrates. So, and that's only if you're exercising quite a bit. Like, a lot of us will go into the gym, we'll do like 6 routes, we'll hang out for a lot of the time, and we're not really doing that much exercise. So maybe like a few more carbohydrates is fine. But you don't really need to change that much if you're always getting your baseline amount of protein. That's what I'm most concerned with, because most of us can't even get there. And so if you can get there, you're winning. And then on top of that, like, yes, on really big days, or if you're training at a very high intensity many days a week, then yeah, eat more for sure. And make it, across the board, eating just more of your meals so every macronutrient is covered. Currently, I'm eating 35% protein. Do you think that's too much? It depends on why you're doing that. Everybody's different. So my recommendation for 25% protein is very generalized, and it's very hard to actually make a generalization because we're all pretty different. But 35% protein is on that cusp of like actually going too high protein and affecting your kidneys. I recommend that 35% be your max, but I would also be interested to know what your other macros are and what you're doing for exercise and how your energy levels are. Because if you're not getting enough, if you're not getting enough carbs because you're getting too much protein or so much protein, you might have energy lows. You might be really lean, but you might not have great energy. You might not be recovering from exercise because it also requires carbohydrates to do that. So there are a few more questions that might go along with that. But no, I don't think it's dangerous at that point. Does collagen supplements count as a complete protein to count toward your, no. I mean, yes, but no. That's why Eric Hurst puts leucine into his collagen supplement to make it more of a complete protein. Leucine is an amino acid, and it's just low in collagen, and so it's not a complete. It is a complete protein, but it's just low in leucine. So I think it's better to add leucine in there, but also I think that it's really important to get collagen. So if you have the choice between having the Physivantage and not having the Physivantage, I think it's fine to just do a regular collagen supplement because it is so beneficial to climbers and any athlete and any person because it's missing from our diet. What do you think about the rule that says that for women we should have between 1 and 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight? Is this equivalent to 25? Yeah, it's around the same, but it doesn't actually, I don't like that metric because if you weigh 300 pounds and you're overweight, obviously at that point, then 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is not accurate. So I would more say 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per lean body weight. And that's another metric that some sports scientists go by. And yes, but if you're at a normal weight, the 1.2 grams gets you closer to the 25% of total caloric intake, yes. Good to have protein before bed. Actually, no, that's per pound. Yes, no, that's per kilogram. Good to have protein before bed for recovery or just through the day. So eating before bed, this is a topic in and of itself. And the only reason that you would ever eat right before bed is if you are very hungry. And if you neglected to eat a meal or a big snack throughout the day and you did some exercise. If you're not hungry, you don't need to eat before bed. You're gonna be digesting through the night and it can affect your sleep. It can also affect your blood sugar before or during sleep and wake you up in the middle of the night. But that's why I really highly suggest making sure that you get your protein in the morning, then again in the afternoon at lunch, then again at dinner, and then in a snack, before climbing, so that you always have it so that you're not forced to eat anything at night. It's also harder to lose weight if you're trying to lean out, if you're eating at night. I'm on intermittent fasting for a number of years already, so I only have 2 meals a day. How do I get 25% protein per day? My first question to you is, why are you intermittent fasting and only having 2 meals a day? And if that's something that you really like doing, that's fine. But I would just have, it depends on how big your eating window is. Because if it's, 6 hours, you could eat every 2 hours in there. Or you could just have much bigger meals and add, just have double the protein in one of your meals, right? It just depends on what your digestion can handle. And it's okay to eat that much in one meal. The whole 20 grams per meal thing isn't true. Do you think that protein from bugs, crickets is a good source of meat protein? I think it would be if the cricket protein came in larger amounts. Like if you look at those bars, they only have 8 grams of protein or 12 or something in them. It's just not very much. But if you were to use it, and I think even the protein powder that they make is not that high. I could be wrong, but as far as like a complete protein that's, non-inflammatory, yeah, crickets are great and very sustainable. I'm totally into it. I just wish that the products had more protein in them. Do you recommend additional BCAA supplement for energy level recovery? Yes, for sure. And I think that I saw a difference in myself when I was taking them, and other clients have seen a difference for sure. The only thing is that some BCAAs can be very difficult to digest. It's not that it's hard to digest, it just gives you gas sometimes. And I've tried several different products and they give me gas or bloating. They make my stomach hurt. And so you got to find one that works for you. But yeah, for sure, I think it's great. There's tons of research to support that as well. Is there a priority of protein from food versus powders? I don't have any problem with powders. I know that they're processed, but almost every food that we eat is, even when you cook meat or cook vegetables, they are processed, right? The problem that I have with powders is when we start getting into artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors, artificial colors, weird preservatives, and things, and caffeine and creatine. Like, people put weird stuff in powders. Not that creatine is weird, but so you have to look at your ingredients. If you're gonna have a protein powder, I would rather have you do something that is just plain whey protein, or just plain whatever they're making it out of, the vegan ingredients. So another thing about protein powder, which I failed to mention in the talk, is that a lot of times when people are trying to get more protein into their breakfast, that's usually the hardest time to get it in, because people are used to eating oatmeal or, like these really low protein breakfasts. And so if you are an oat eater or a granola eater or a cereal eater, one trick is to put protein powder into your oats. You got to find one that you like. And I like Primal Kitchen, and whatever you can find at a natural food store. That's usually going to have good ingredients, but you can do that, or you can put Greek yogurt with your oats. You can, it's like fortifying foods with protein powder, or having them on the side. Like if you have eggs and potatoes for breakfast and it's not enough protein, like having whey protein and almond milk or milk, whatever, on the side would be great. Okay, so how does having an autoimmune disorder weigh into macros? I have lupus and my inflammation response is strong. So in training, I have a tendency to cause an inflammation response. Would managing my macros help with recovery? No, for you, yes, for sure. Like, having more protein is gonna help your body deal with it, just because whenever we're healing, we need more protein, and your body is constantly trying to heal, right? But with autoimmune stuff, I highly recommend taking out gluten and grains and checking out the paleo diet. This is the time when I will use paleo with people. I highly recommend that to you. And I'm definitely Google paleo if you haven't so far, because that will help to decrease your inflammation levels and make sure that your protein is good and that you keep your carbs up. It's hard to do that on paleo, but like I'll use cassava flour and tapioca flour as my main starches. And once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. What is the carb fat percent? I'll do just a few more of these. What is the carb fat percent breakdown, assuming 25% protein per meal? So we'll get into that more, but it's generally 25 protein, 40 carb, and 35 fat. But I'm going to talk more about that, but that's a baseline. Do farm fresh products have more protein than standard grocery store products? Maybe, but products. I was thinking produce. No, not the protein level doesn't change. The nutrients change, like the vitamin A, the fat soluble vitamins, the different fatty acids, those change a little bit, but not the protein. Any good way to calculate the calories burned for climbing? Online, I have found estimates for calories burned per hour, but it seems to make more sense to me to base calories burned on number of pitches. I haven't found a good way to calculate that. Sometimes people will have those watches that sort of monitor that, and they can kind of figure it out for themselves. But for me, I don't really pay too much attention to that. I know that sounds weird, but it's usually, if you're trying to maintain your weight or lose weight, it's usually not a one-to-one situation where I exercise this much, so I get to eat this many more calories. And so I would just log what you're eating. I don't know what your goals are, but if you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight, log what you're eating, see what your average calories is, and ask yourself if you're losing weight, gaining weight, or maintaining weight. And just if you're maintaining weight, just keep it on that calorie level. And then eat a little bit more, or however much you need to more when you're climbing, like to hunger. I can't read that. Oh, English. There is a paradigm to eat carbohydrates before and during training and eat protein right after training. How is it really? I'm going to cover this on Wednesday. So I'm going to stop, or I'm not going to answer that one. If you want to message me privately on Facebook, that would be fine. Hi, Jennifer. What are some suggestions for protein snacks that are easy to pack or grab and go? Sorry, I'm just looking at how many questions are more. So it depends on, it doesn't really depend. I mean, when you're trying to go climbing, I say just bring regular meals that you would normally have, and eat depend on snacks less and meals more. But if you're like going to the climbing gym, take a cooler pack and just eat whatever snacks you normally would. So whether that's a protein shake, that's a really easy thing to bring to a gym, or yogurt with granola, or Greek yogurt that's no fat and high protein. Jerky, and then for vegans, there are some bars that have higher protein in them, and the vegan protein powder. But I'm not like a huge snack fan. I would just say, if you're, try to depend more on your meals. And if you're gonna need a snack, just bring things that are meal items, but in smaller amounts as your snack. And then I'm going to talk about this next one from Angeline in the timing. How much BCA would you recommend daily? I would just recommend the daily recommended amount, like on the bottle. Glutamine for recovery, I've not seen any. 1,000 milligrams a day isn't enough glutamine for really anything. So I've never used glutamine for recovery. Any thoughts on Huel? I think that Huel it's not super high quality. It's got fake sugars and fake things in it, but I mean, if that's your thing. Yes, paleo can help with fibromyalgia. For breakfast, I generally have a Greek yogurt with granola, protein bar. I generally don't get an energy crash, but I do get one in the morning about 10:30 or 11. Is this because it's too high in carbs? Greek yogurt with granola. It might be because you're not eating enough. I would need to see what the constituents of that meal are. But a lot of times people get hungry just because they're only eating 200 calories in the morning or less. So check that out, but you might just not be getting enough proteins in there. So maybe add some whey protein to that. Okay, so this has been 25 minutes. And I think that's like my upper limit here. So this is great, a perfect number of questions. So thank you very much. What's gonna happen now is I recorded this conversation, and so I'm gonna send it out in an email, and then I'm going to put it out also on the Facebook group. So I really appreciate you guys all being here, and I'll be here at the same time on this same Zoom link tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Mountain Time, or GMT -6. All right, thanks so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.